Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We have more to cover today than we have time to cover things. So we're going to be live on the radio in 30 seconds, but I've got a whole bunch to cover, and it's also open phones today. It's Friday. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat, and it's toll free no matter where you're listening. All right, 10 seconds. Stand by. Welcome, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. And man, oh man, do we have a lot to cover today. It's also open phones, guys. And we call open phones, we call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. One of our listeners, Christine in Pennsylvania, came up with that idea. Because I didn't want to call it Open Phone Friday because that was Russia's thing. And Christine said, call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. I thought that was great. And that's what it is. It's Open MAGA Mike Friday. On Fridays, you can call in about any and everything on your mind. You're not limited to the topics we bring up, okay? And the other 4 days of the week, you got to talk about what we're talking about. But Friday, the show prep is up to you guys. And if you'd like to call in, please do. The number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. Although I do have some things I'm going to try to get to, as many of them as possible. If you're on hold, stand by. Coming up later, I'm going to go, not too long from now, I'm going to go through the big, beautiful bill and Social Security, because the never-Trumpers and the Democrats and the fake news media are desperate to find anything they can on Donald Trump. Remember, they were trying to make a scandal out of the color of the suit that he wore to the Pope's funeral, right? So they're going to grab onto anything, but they're trying to tell you promises made, promises not kept on the Social Security and the big, beautiful bill. I'm going to go through that and break it down coming up in just a little bit. Don't miss it. Now, when I go through it, that's not going to stop the never-Trumpers and the Democrats from attacking Trump and calling him a liar, okay? They're so desperate to have something. But I'm going to get to it in a little bit. You will not want to miss that. It's very important for you to know. President Trump made a campaign promise. Promises made, promises kept. We'll get to that. We've got a lot of other big issues to discuss, but I want to start with something before I go to the phones. This monster terrorist that murdered these kids in D.C. the night before last, my goodness, just how disgusting was that? He's just a monster, a monster. And I'm listening to all of this talk in the media yesterday and on social media. How did this good American kid get radicalized? How did they turn him into a terrorist? Because make no mistake about it, what happened in D.C., those murders, that was an act of terrorism, without question, okay? And we're getting more information because the charges are out there. The beautiful girl that he murdered in his act of terrorism didn't die from the initial shooting. She was crawling away. This according to the report by the prosecutor, which is Judge Jeanine. More on her coming up. Her name was Sarah. She tried to crawl away from the terrorist after being shot. The monster followed her and shot her again. At least 21 rounds were fired. So I'm going to tell you right out of the box how this happened. All this, how did this good American boy become a radicalized terrorist? He was radicalized by the Democrats. He was radicalized by the Democrat Party and the fake news media. That's it. The modern Democrat Party in this country is a radical hate group that is radical. You hear some of the calls I get on the air here from young people. The Democrat Party of today is a party of hate. that is brainwashing and radicalizing young people throughout our nation to hate white people, to hate Jews, to hate Israel, to side with terrorists, and to believe a lot of other garbage that's not true. Look what happened yesterday with the reporter that went up to Ilhan Omar and asked her to condemn the terrorist act murdering these young people who were going to be engaged today.
Congresswoman Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
I'm going to go for now. Ilhan Omar. You know, there are some things that universally bring us together, right? We are all opposed to murder, aren't we? Well, Ilhan Omar, she couldn't condemn it. So why could Ilhan Omar not condemn this act of terrorism that murdered 2 young people about to be married? You know why? Because they're Jews. That's why. And she can't condemn the murder of Jews because in her mind, in her audience mind, her followers' mind, she would be siding with Jews. And there's no such thing as a good Jew in her mind. I mean, this is nuts. I know she posted something on social media later, but someone's first reaction is the honest reaction from their heart and their mind, if she has a heart. The Democrat Party has been taken over by radical lunatics like Ilhan Omar and others. The Democrat Party, the fake news liberal media, and our education system from pre-K through graduate school at the university level are brainwashing young people to hate our country, to hate Jews, hate Israel, hate white people, hate heterosexuality, hate heterosexuals, and many other crazy things. That's what happened, okay? Now listen to this. Listen to these lunatics on CNN talking about this terror act. This is insane.
I do want to ask you about what this means to Jewish institutions around the United States and the world, and what you think should and could happen as far as the security apparatus that will likely be changed around them.
So 2 pieces. First of all, the Jewish community, particularly in the United States, is very aware of the threat that they face.
Absolutely.
And so both at a national level, there are organizations that are dedicated to helping organizations have security, and at regional...
Now listen to what... Now again, this is CNN yesterday. Listen to where this goes.
And local levels, there are institutions that are in place to help them. At the federal level, though, one of my main concerns in the current administration is the fact that so many resources are being diverted to immigration enforcement. And that is a priority of this administration, and that's their prerogative. But at the same time, if they are drawing down resources from counterterrorism components, both within the FBI and the Justice Department, then that potential can have more of an effect. And I think I'll be interested to know whether this individual was on any radar of investigators, considering the fact that he traveled from one location to another.
Okay, so this lunatic analysis on CNN, it's Trump's fault that this act of terrorism happened because the FBI, they're deporting people. Are you freaking kidding me? Here's CNN again, and then we'll break, and then we'll take some calls after the break, and I got much more to talk about. This is CNN interviewing a gentleman who was actually there when this act of terrorism happened. And listen to what this lunatic says to this guy.
As you go forward with what you have seen.
And this is the same anchor. Remember, Rush used to call them anchorettes. This is the same anchorette that was talking to the person blaming Trump for the attacks.
As you go forward with what you have seen, can you give us any sense, because you said you looked the shooter in the eyes, can you give us any sense of what you saw in him as he was sort of getting help and people were tending to him as if he too was a victim of seeing this?
Yeah, to be clear, I heard about that part because we were in the secure room when he initially walked in. I just saw him screaming and then being handcuffed. But what I saw in his eyes, I mean, I went to Columbia for grad school, and I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of all the protesters at Columbia. Nothing different between him and them.
But they did not create this horrific shooting. They did not, they didn't shoot.
They gave permission.
Yeah,
They
that's
gave
right.
it permission. And they have called for this. They have called for intifada revolution, which is the same thing he yelled last night.
That's right.
Do you worry that there will be...
See, Colombia has instigated terrorism, is what he's saying. Acts of violence against others. By the way, is this Anchorette, is this Jean-Pierre's ex-girlfriend?
Do you worry that there will be a conflation, though, of the two, those people who are speaking their mind, who really care about what is happening in Gaza, and those people who are like this person who did this
really
horrific shooting, who intend to do harm?
A conflation. I mean, they are calling for intifada. At Columbia University, they call for intifada constantly. They're not quietly, they're loud. They're loud. You can hear it. They make recordings of themselves. So what's the difference?
Are you afraid?
Yes.
Yeah, all Jews
We're
are.
all afraid. Everyone should be afraid.
All Jews are afraid right now.
What are you doing to try to make yourself feel safer?
Well, okay, you just go on and live your life. I'm a New Yorker. I remember 9/11. You can't let them make you be afraid. You have to go on. You have to live your life, and hopefully your government does things to protect you.
Yeah. Okay. So CNN, CNN with their propaganda. My goodness. That's CNN yesterday after this horrific murder. And it backs up what I told you. This guy was radicalized by Columbia University. And by the way, you don't have to go to Columbia to be radicalized by Columbia University. Radicalized by the fake news media and radicalized by the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has become a groomer of radicals. They're basically, that's what they are. They're a groomer of radical, hateful people that they're grooming to go out and do terrible things. Now, if you're on hold, stand by. It is Friday here on the program, which means open phones. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. You can call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. It's completely open phones. So if you're on hold, hang in there. After the break, I'll start going to the phones. But I have a lot of other things I want to get to on the program this morning as well. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show. Coming up also, I'm going to get into the truth about President Trump, the big, beautiful bill, and how he helps seniors with the Social Security tax cut, regardless of what people are telling you. I'm going to get to that. Don't you worry. I did some research on that yesterday. We'll be right back. What is the name of this anchor on CNN? She might be Jean-Pierre's ex-girlfriend. I'm not sure. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Luna. This is Luna, guys. This is one of my cats. I've got my daughter's cats here, but it's one of our cats. Hey, Luna. Yes, yes, yes. One of the MAGA cats. She's a great cat. She wants me to pet her. I can't pet you while I'm on the air. She's really cute. Yeah, she just turned 2. She's she adopted our kittens that we got last year, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. I'll go to the phones when we get back, and I've got a lot more to cover, too. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. I'm going to take the calls in the order in which they were received. Mama Luna is what we call. Yeah, we call her Mama Luna a lot, yes. That's her nickname, Mama Luna. She's a very good mother to those kittens. Oh, my goodness. She loves those guys. Less than a minute, we'll be back. I'm allergic to cats, too. I take allergy medications, which were working fine until my daughter's cats came. So we have 5 cats in the house now, so it's overload for my allergy medication. We've had them for about a month. My daughter's cats. Maybe 3 weeks. Welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. We're going to go to the phones. Now, as I say, it is Open MAGA Mike Friday, and on open phones you can call in about any and everything on your mind. However, I hope you find the things we bring up, Steve and I, interesting enough to comment on as well, but you don't have to comment on any of them. And I am going to get to the Social Security and the big, beautiful bill later. And I got a lot of other things to cover, too. All right. I'm going to go to the phones. Our number toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 1-888-465-2631. And by the way, that our call-in number is 888-GO-KANE-1, K-A-N-E. 888-GO-KANE-1. And I'm going to take these calls in the order in which they were received. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Dr. Ken from Jupiter.
Hey, Dr. Ken. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to comment on an issue you presented to the audience in yesterday's show. I'm a day late because I listened to the show, but I was unable to call in yesterday.
Well, it's open. It's open phone, so it's fair game.
Thank you. And it was a prediction or a preference that you had for the top of the ticket in 2028, and I agree with you 100% with Marco Rubio leading the way. And this is a two-part comment. The first is, it's like Herb Brooks said to the 1980 USA Olympic hockey team before the Russia game at the Olympics, this is your time. And this really is Marco's time. But well, I want to also
before you move on to the next topic, what I and I'd like to hear some other calls on this too. President Trump leans on Marco Rubio for everything. Put him in charge of USAID, made him the national security advisor. He's involved in the Russian negotiations with Ukraine and a lot of other things. He leans on him more than anyone else in the administration, and I think he's his favorite to be the second MAGA president. Not J.D. Vance. That's just what it looks like to me. And this news story that Miami-Dade County, which I still call Dade County because I've lived here so long, but Miami-Dade County has more registered Republicans than Democrats for the first time in history. That's Marco Rubio's hometown. You need Florida to win. I could see him being the second MAGA president, not J.D. Vance. I really, and it seems to be leaning that way. In my opinion, but it's a long way off. Anyway, what's your other issue, Dr. Ken?
Well, it's related to it, and you just kind of touched on some of the things I was going to say. The
That's okay.
person who's the Herb Brooks of this situation is the greatest president in the history of our country, and that's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because the office of the Secretary of State is probably the most important of the cabinet, and as a matter of exposure, well, first of all, J.D. Vance is therefore the person for that job. But secondary to that is that as far as exposure goes versus the vice president, the Secretary of State is literally in our living rooms every night. And so the American public will see Marco Rubio on an almost daily basis for 4 years. And so by that time, everyone will know who he is. And given the competition, he could be a shoo-in by that time.
And
J.D. Vance is younger.
And well, another thing about Marco Rubio had a lifetime position as the U.S. Senator from Florida. Okay,
Yep.
he didn't give up a lifetime job for something that's not permanent, and he's got his eyes on the presidency. And I like J.D. Vance, and he's very good and everything else. However, he doesn't have the charisma. At least I'm not seeing it yet. He's very good, and he did very good with Zelensky. But he doesn't have that charisma that the top of the ticket I think he's a little young still.
Yes. And his time may come, too. We don't know yet because he is young and he's only been in politics a handful of years. But Marco Rubio is very charismatic.
Well, he could be vice president again with Marco Rubio.
He could very well could. There's so many choices, and he's right at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's it.
That's it. Thanks.
All right. Good call. Appreciate it. By the way, a lot of times people think you have to hate me to call in. No, you don't. You don't have to agree with me to call in. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine, Brian.
Hey, Jeff. What's up?
I was so thoroughly disgusted with how the mainstream news media covered the murder of those two embassy staffers that were about to get engaged or about to go get a ring, had a long, great life ahead of them, but look what they did for a guy named Floyd.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's so disheartening to see our country treat people that had a whole life ahead of them, were wonderful, people, gunned down and admittedly murdered he admitted to murdering them, they said yesterday.
Yeah, well, see, the left don't really, look at what they've done. I was talking about how the left is a radical groomer organization now, not a political organization. Yep. They radicalized this terrorist that murdered these kids night before last. They also, the Democrats and the fake news media, radicalized Luigi, who killed the pharmaceutical head. Right, executive. I mean, this is what they're doing now.
But you know what happened yesterday that I thought was so wonderful was Marco Rubio at the hearing when he put those senators, especially that female, I forget her name, in her place, talking about these issues and how they're. He says, we are going to deport these people, remove their student visas and deport these people that are going to act accordingly and rightly. If you're not going to be, you come here to assimilate American culture and the American flag and our way of life. We don't, and he's doing his job, and I believe he's setting up to do a run as president or vice president.
Absolutely. I don't see him being number 2 to JD. I just don't see it. Hey, Jeff, I got to run for our break, but I agree with everything you said. Take care. If you're on hold, hang in there. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. Back after this. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. Oh, 1 second, guys. Okay. I'm getting some things together for later in the show. We'll be back soon. If you're on hold, hang in there. Going right back to the phones. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll be back in about 1 minute. All the cats want to be around me this morning, so they're causing all kinds of havoc. I'm going to have to get them out of here. Because this one here is about ready to cause some trouble. Come here, Haku. No. You're going to make a mess in there. He's about ready. We'll be back in 30 seconds. He's about to knock down a whole bunch of stuff. We're in trouble, guys. All right. We got some trouble going on. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. And if you're on hold, hang in there. It is Open Phones, Open MAGA Mike Friday. Any and everything on your mind is fair game on Friday's program. Our number, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Brian. It's Taj.
Hey, Taj. What's up?
Hey, I wanted to touch on what you talked about yesterday about the South African president's visit to White House.
Yeah, try to speak up a little bit.
I was just so happy. Oh, sure. Sorry, I'm on the highway. I wanted to talk about the South African president's visit to the White House the other day.
Uh-huh.
What you were talking about yesterday. And it's so nice to see finally something useful get done where Trump is confronting this guy for all the atrocities going on, and then he shows him the video of all the grave sites on the side of the road of all the white farmers that have been killed, and he asks, well, where is this? I don't know where this is. Like, he plays like dumb. I mean, he caught him, and he called him out, and then our press doesn't even go after him. I mean, this is like...
Well, because like with the murder of these kids in D.C., They don't have a problem with what's happening because it's white people being slaughtered in South Africa, and they believe that white people and Jews, they deserve these things. That's what the left believe. Let's be honest here. Come on, there's no dancing around it.
Probably. And, like, this, what's happening now there is like what happened in Rwanda. And initially, we didn't find out about how bad it really was till it was, like, well underway. So we don't really know how bad it is. I mean, This is turning into Rwanda, and this is an illustration of what DEI policies lead to, because I was listening to a podcast, BBD, last night, and he was talking about Elon Musk was trying to bring Starlink back into South Africa, but the president there and the policies they have say 30% ownership of his company has to be given to somebody black of their choice. Given,
by the way, given. That's crazy.
I have no words.
So they're not going to have Starlink. And I got to tell you, Elon Musk's Starlink internet, we have it on our cruise ships, for our MAGA cruise. It is really good. In fact, I was using it last time to live stream on YouTube, before Starlink, they had internet on cruise ships, but it wasn't Starlink. I couldn't live stream on YouTube. It is so fast. I've thought about getting it for the house as backup after hurricanes. You know, because it's so good. All right, Taj, that's it.
It's a little expensive for the equipment initially to get it, but
it
becomes more reliable.
Well, there's two versions of this. By the way, this is not an ad for Starlink, but maybe they should have it. Anyone in Mar-a-Lago listening? There's two versions. You can get the one is a mobile unit that a lot of RVers and things get. That's a little less money, and the dish is smaller.
Right.
All right, appreciate the call, Taj. Take care. All right, we're doing okay so far on Open Mega Mike Friday, I must say. You're on the air. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Kazi. I'm a Latino from Cali.
A Latino from Cali. All right, Latino from Cali. What's on your mind?
Yeah, you know you voted for a rapist, predator, a racist, a bigot, and a motherfucking oligarchist?
Okay, we got to hit the dump on that one, even though it was mumbled. And it's too bad. You know, yeah, I know, Mike. First dump of the day. We had a show in the last week. We had to hit the dump button 7 times. Profanity is not allowed, okay? And it's not my rule. It's it's the government. You can't use the profanity on the radio. And it's unfortunate because I would like to have had a discussion with the guy from Cali. Now, if you'd like to call back and not use profanity, please do, because I would like to have a discussion with him. Okay, there's no doubt. We had a good discussion about his quick list of meaningless, vacuous slanders against the greatest president of our lifetime, Donald John Trump, maybe and arguably the greatest president in American history, and I mean that. He's that good. All right, delay, re-engage. You're on the air.
That good. All right, delay, re-engage.
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, you said greatest president of all time?
Turn down the volume in the background. If you use profanity again, I'm going to have to ban you.
Turn down the volume in the background.
So can you?
No, I can use profanity again. You're a fucking bitch.
There we go. Okay, there we go. Dump button again. I don't know. What it is. We basically have 2 rules, right? 2 rules. 1 call per day and no profanity. I lifted the second. I lifted the second rule because I wanted to talk to the guy, and he can't control himself. What are you gonna do? All right, if you're on hold, hang in there as we wait for the delay to re-engage. Why do you think the leftists are so unhinged? It's because, well, this is the golden age of America, and they just can't handle that. All right, now, I wanted to share something with you guys, and then we'll go back to the phones in just a bit. Did you catch Judge Jeanine's press conference yesterday? She's the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, and Judge Jeanine had a press conference yesterday because this horrific act of terrorism is within her jurisdiction in D.C., and she's prosecuting the case. And she's up there with that Democrat mayor from D.C. and her DEI police chief. But I want to play this. Judge Jeanine, we all know her from Fox News, from The Five. She had her great show that I liked. And she's been out of the law for a while. Boy, but she slid back in it, didn't she? Like riding a bicycle, I guess. And I want to play Judge Jeanine because I want to ask you some questions about this. This is Judge Jeanine yesterday.
Pirro, the United States Attorney. Welcome.
You need no introduction, Judge Jeanine. We all know you and love you.
The United States Attorney. Welcome. Our community today is reeling as a result of one person's actions. 2 families now are left to grieve for dreams that will never be realized. And as I speak right now, there is an individual who is being presented in court and charged with various crimes. 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois, is now charged by complaint after his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Matthew Sharbaugh with the following: murder in the first degree, for the murder of 30-year-old Yaron Levchinsky, a foreign official and official guest of the United States. Mr. Levchinsky was here on official business for the State of Israel. The defendant Rodriguez is also charged with 2 counts of murder in the first degree for both Yaron Levchinsky along with 26-year-old Sarah Lynn Milgram of Kansas. In addition, there are several felony firearms charges.
Now, if you're just tuning in, I'm playing this for a reason. This is Judge Jeanine. She's the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. So this act of terrorism by this radical Democrat that the Democrats and the media turned into a terrorist and killed these kids for being Jews night before last, she's the prosecutor in charge of the case. And I want to play the whole thing. It's a couple minutes long, but I was pretty impressed by Judge Jeanine. So I'm going to get back to it.
For discharging a firearm in the middle of a violent crime and for causing the death of an individual through the use of that firearm. Now, this investigation is continuing, and as you can see, we have most of the stakeholders here today who will be given an opportunity to speak with you. But what I want to be clear about today, since this is the first time you're hearing from me, is that this is a horrific crime, and these crimes are not going to be tolerated by me and by this office. A young couple at the beginning of their life's journey, about to be engaged in another country, had their bodies removed in the cold of the night in a foreign city in a body bag. We are not going to tolerate that anymore. And I am not unaware, based upon my own background, of the repercussions of this kind of case. This is the kind of case that picks at old sores and old scars, because these kinds of cases remind us of what has happened in the past that we can never and must never forget.
That's right.
I want to mention one thing. The Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., where this young couple had been at an event, was built around a brick building. That brick building was previously a synagogue called Adas Israel. It was one of Washington's first synagogues, a congregation that was created in 1869. And Ulysses S. Grant, our president, actually attended the dedication of that synagogue. And so to this day, that synagogue and that area remains a cornerstone of the Jewish community in D.C. Let me also say that violence against anyone based on their religion is an act of cowardice. It is not an act of a hero. It is the kind of case that we will vigorously pursue. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated, especially in the nation's capital. Now, we're going to continue to investigate this as a hate crime and a crime of terrorism, and we will add additional charges as the evidence warrants. So this charging today is the initial charge. Remember, we're less than 24 hours from the crime itself. And we are working furiously and diligently with our partners behind me. We've got massive amounts of evidence that we are vetting, we are verifying, and we are reviewing. This is the start and not the beginning.
Okay. So Judge Jeanine, she is incredible, isn't she? I want to ask you a question here. Then we got a break. So if you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to call in, please do. It is Open MAGA Mike Friday, so you can call in about anything you want. But I'd also like to hear your thoughts on what I'm about to ask you about at 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Watching and hearing Judge Jeanine yesterday, do you wish that she was the Attorney General and not Pam Bondi? If Judge Jeanine were the Attorney General, do you think we would have seen some lawfare arrest by now? Do you also think that Trump may be disappointed in Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Bongino for not coming through with anything yet? Is it possible that President Trump gave Judge Jeanine this incredible job in D.C.? It's an interim appointment, so she doesn't have to go through the Senate confirmation. Is it possible that he is setting things up for her to be the next Attorney General? What do you guys think? You know, when I saw Judge Jeanine yesterday, she sounded like the Attorney General of the United States, not the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. So let's hear your thoughts on that. And I'll tell you what, I'd like to see her as the Attorney General. And I do believe that there would be lawfare arrests by now if she were the Attorney General. But I want to hear your thoughts on all of that. 1-888-465-2631. Do you think President Trump is disappointed in Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino? 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. Yeah, if you'd like to call in, the toll-free number is pinned in the live chat. I'll go to the phones when we get back. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. I think she was incredible, Judge Jeanine. Absolutely. Yeah, if you want to call in, the toll-free number is pinned in the live chat. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, okay? Making some notes on Post-its. My computer monitor has Post-its all over it. We'll be back in about a minute, and I will go to the phones. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. It's Open MAGA Mike Friday, open phones. Any and everything on your mind is fair game on Friday's show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Excellent.
You're on the air.
My name is Joe from West Palm. Thank you. How are you?
All right, Joe in West Palm. What's on your mind? Well, hold on a second here. I'm going to answer some of the...
I'm wondering how long it's going to take for some of these fanatics to try to...
Okay, we're not going to get into that. Oh, my goodness. All right. You know, it's not your living room, okay? It's open phones, but there's still federal regulations. Okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. It's Frank from West Palm Beach.
Frank
Good
in
morning,
West
Brian
Palm.
and Steve. Brian, West Palm Beach, correct. And I have to tell you, Brian, you were absolutely correct. LaPorta Roofing was amazingly phenomenal. They just finished my roof the day before yesterday. LaPorta Roofing was superb in all ways imaginable when installing the new roof of my residence. And Tom LaPorta meticulously spearheaded the entire project from inception through to the finalization of the assignment. Tom handled all the paperwork involving city permits, inspectors, and my community HOA. He was always available, ensuring that he, I quote, had my back in all the phases of the project. Additionally, Tom, Scott, and Dan, and the entire crew were very well organized with the plan, consistent with all policies and procedures, and craftsmanship was exemplary in all stages of the design execution. Tom, Scott, and Dan maintained a continual contact with me, the homeowner, asking if there were any questions I had or anything further I needed. LaPorta Roofing is, in every respect, a stellar, 5-star, AAA family-owned company that is a reliable, peace-of-mind roofing organization. These guys are spot on with regards to perfection. And mind you, they demand it. I remain mesmerized upon the completion of the job. My roof is a masterpiece, and I thank LaPorta Roofing for all that they did.
All right, well, I got to tell you, I didn't interrupt because I didn't want to talk over what is going to be the new commercial for LaPorta Roofing, so I appreciate that. And
oh, wow.
So you'll be hearing yourself quite a bit on the show coming up in the probably starting next week. I do appreciate
Fantastic.
that. I do appreciate that. Tom LaPorta is a very good guy, and you know, Florida, there's so many guys driving around in pickup trucks claiming to be roofers. You don't want to go to those guys. You want to call Tom LaPorta at LaPorta Roofing. Let me give you Tom's number, which of course is his cell phone. You can call or text. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. All right, well, thank you for the call and the kind words about Tom LaPorta.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Well, I had no idea he was calling in. That's pretty cool. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Kurt. I'm calling from Maine.
Yes.
One of the first things that Trump needs is to change the executive order that Obama put in to okay the federal government and the news media to okay to lie to the American people.
What exactly? Hold on, slow down. The media can do what?
It's okay the media can lie to the American people and the government. So basically, it's okay for propaganda.
Well, you know, I'm in media. I mean, I'm an opinion person, right? I'm an editorialist. I give my opinions. But you don't want to have government control over the media at all, of any media.
No. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Obama made it okay for the government to lie to the American people. and which anybody can lie to the American people.
Okay. All right. What's your next
including-
issue? It is open phones, open MAGA Mike Friday. What was your next thing?
The other thing is, as soon as he got elected, I put on X like 15 times that this country has never seen this much corruption, and it's going to take more than 4 years to straighten all this out. And I think they're going to have enough evidence where Trump is going to have to at least do another 2 years. Executive order
the
or
government,
whatever.
the government of the United States has always been corrupt since its earliest days and our first president. You know, have you ever been to D.C., Washington?
No, but
okay. Well, you know, right down the street, really, basically, a short drive or a boat ride from Washington, D.C. is Mount Vernon, George Washington's house. That was the beginning of established government corruption. Do you think it's just a coincidence that the District of Columbia is right upstream from our first president's house? They've always been corrupt. Donald Trump is the first president not to be financially corrupt. They've all been corrupt, other than him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with everything that Trump does.
Really?
But I tell you what, that's why he's a better president, because he's not a politician.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
He's a businessman.
That's right. And remember, they've been saying my whole life, you can't have a businessman as president. You can't run the government like a business. Well, Donald Trump's doing a pretty good job of doing that.
He can't be bought.
That's right. That's why
he can't be bought.
That's why they hate him. That's why. All right. Appreciate the call. Take care. Take care. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, no. Open phones, but not that open. All right. So your thoughts on... oh, my gosh. I wish we didn't have these restrictions. But there's certain things that aren't allowed on the air, okay? I wish we didn't have any of them, because a lot of these things I would very much like you to hear. Oh, man. All right. Oh, boy. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Oh, yeah, Conservative Doug. Wait, Tyler.
Oh, you're not ready for your act? You got to get the script? We'll wait. No, he hung up. I caught him off guard. He wasn't ready. Oh, my goodness. Conservative Doug should be honored. He's got a caller out there who's making parody of him. Yeah. And that caller is someone that we know. They are. There's someone that you know and someone that I know who's trying to disguise their voice. And the reason that they hung up wasn't just because they didn't have their script prepared. They didn't have the fake voice ready, and they were afraid we'd hear their real voice. Probably they're talking to somebody in the room in their real voice. Oh, my goodness. Is it going to be one of those days? Really? It is open phones, open MAGA Mike Friday. Any and everything on your mind is fair game. All right, so your thoughts on anything that I've brought up this morning so far in the first hour most definitely are welcome. And I would like to hear your thoughts on my Judge Jeanine theory, which I think very well could be in play, and maybe putting some pressure on Pam Bondi, hopefully, to do some arrest. I know she had a press conference too, Pam Bondi, but it wasn't like the Judge Jeanine press conference, was it? And I was surprised at now I know Judge Jeanine's good on television because she's been on TV all these years. But a lot of times people are out of their profession for a while and they get rusty. She's not rusty. She is ready to be the top cop. All right, delay is re-engaged. Everything is cool. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling? Oh, hold on. This is going to be a fun day. I can't wait. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Oh, boy. Yes.
Yes, hello. My name is James. I'm from Canada.
Hey, James in Canada. What's up?
Not much.
You called me.
Donald Trump.
What? Oh, my goodness. Dump button again, Mike. Oh, my goodness. How many times have we used the dump button today? Is it, 4? In the first hour? Oh my goodness. That's the way it is. All right, callers on hold, stand by. We have less than a minute left until the top of the hour, so we're not going to take any more calls until after the top of the hour break. Steve is calling me on my cell phone, and I know he knows that I'm on the air, so I'm going to call Steve during the break and find out why he's calling me while I'm on the air. All right, you get when you get phone calls at certain times, it makes you worry, right? You get a call in the middle of the night, you wonder if someone is in jail or something. Okay, we have used the dump button 3 times in the first hour on this open MAGA Mike Friday. Mike the board op just told me 3 times we've used the dump button. Well, that's okay. We're only in the first hour. We've got 2 to go. If you'd like to call in on this open MAGA Mike Friday, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back after our top of the hour break. Yeah, you called? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Not bad. Okay, bye. That was Steve. I didn't say much because private conversation. Not everything's for the air. We'll be back in just over 2 minutes. Sorry. Top of the hour break at the radio station. If you're on hold, hang in there. Hopefully we can raise the bar a little bit on the quality of the calls. We shall see. No, I'd love to talk to these liberals, but you can't use profanity. Okay, you can't use profanity. I don't think liberals can talk without dropping F-bombs anymore. I think they've lost the ability. I really do. Okay. One minute and we'll be back. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? This is where MAGA comes to talk. 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. I just talked to Steve Kane during the break. All right, now, if you're on hold, hang in there. It is Friday. Friday is open phones on the program. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. You can call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's program. All right, let's go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, and I hope you and your wife and daughter have a great weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be live on Monday or not, guys, on Memorial Day. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'll probably decide Monday morning. I don't know yet.
I'd like to have a little debate with you here, Brian. Not for nothing, because I agree with you with this. The killing of those two young people.
Oh, hold on, Richie. I got it. Before you get into that, we've added some lines because we get a lot of calls here. We've never done that before ever in the history of this program. We added some lines and they're ringing off the hook. Okay, so go back to you're talking about the terrorist murderer on U.S. soil in D.C. Yeah.
Right. Do you think you could negotiate to that particular person to love Jewish people and to get the hate out of his heart?
No.
Or do you think he's just a radical? Okay, that leads me to this. Do you realize that this is happening on a daily basis in the city of London, England, with stabbings of people in the street because they're not Muslim?
London, the UK is fallen. It's part of the caliphate now. It's a Muslim country.
Okay, here's where I'm landing, and I'm 100% anti-war. I've seen dead bodies in pieces. There's certain times in life that you got to realize the Ayatollah, the guy up in Iran that's been spilling all this crap for how many years now? Their tentacles are all over the place, the Middle East and Europe. This guy, okay, who wants to get the bomb, okay, and President Trump is trying to negotiate with a crazy man with an ideology of killing Jews, Christians, and infidels.
First off, you don't know that. You don't know that. In fact, Alex Jones was reporting yesterday, and I've heard this from other sources too, but Alex Jones and others are reporting that Israel is preparing a military operation against Iran to bomb them. These nuclear facilities, and Israel's not going to bomb Iran without Trump giving the okay. So President Trump may be involved in fake negotiations, giving the Israeli military time to plan and do some things on an airstrike. I wouldn't be so sure.
They're going to need us because we have those bunker busters that will actually go down. Israel can only block the entrances of these places and delay it. To destroy it,
we may have already given them a couple of bunker busters, and it's classified.
Right, the thing I'm trying to say, I think then we're agreeing on this. I think we're getting to the point where they've actually blocking the radar and the Sea of Hormuz. Radar, so the ships are being attacked by the Iranians and everything else. It's gotten to the point where they're thumbing their nose up at President Trump.
You're getting like Biden. You're turning into Joe Biden. You need to take a cognitive test, Richie.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of that crazy old coot. But here's the thing. I think that President Trump, he has to be coming to the end of the line with these people.
Well, listen. Here's the thing. President Trump has a few things going on right now, and he doesn't want to start a military conflict, another one, before he settles Ukraine. So this negotiation could just be buying time to settle the Ukraine-Russian war before another conflict starts up. Because if Israel bombs Russia, it could be global jihad, man. I mean, listen, Trump wants the Iranians out of commission more than anyone because they're after him for the rest of his life because he took out Soleimani.
Let me say this to you about that, okay? And I agree 150% with you. You got to understand one thing.
I'm telling. Trump wants Israel. Trump wants Iran brought down more than Israel because they have the assassin squads after him.
The people of Iran are Persians. This is where, when you said we don't want to start another war.
Now, listen, it's
the
open
Persian
phones,
pe-
Richie, but, I can't, we're getting too, I don't want to go through the history of the Persian people. All right, you're on the, I got to have some quality control. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Randy from Mississippi.
Hey, Randy.
Good morning, sir. Hey,
So,
about
before
3
you
minutes-
before you get started, some people might say, somebody in our live chat said, "Getting in the weeds." I hate that expression when they use it on television. You're getting into the weeds here. No, the weeds is you're getting boring, and it is open phones, but we cannot allow callers to bore the audience. And he was getting anyway. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not trying to bore your audience.
No, I was talking
I'm
about
3
somebody
minutes-
else. Talking about Richie. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Brian, but I'm about 3 minutes behind on your show, and
That's
I
okay.
watched Judge Jeanine.
Yes.
And you're right. She was my pick for the Attorney General of the United States. Pam Bondi was not even in my thought. But on the second comment that I got over here, because I know a couple of weeks ago you were talking about your gas prices in Florida. Well, down here in South Mississippi, around the Biloxi area, around the Gulf Coast, I paid $2.21 per gallon. And I looked up and I saw the diesel prices were at $3.15 for diesel. Go MAGA, go President Trump, you rock, your show rocks, all these libtards. They need to do a little bit of history before they call in on you, because I don't have to start buying popcorn when you educate these idiots on the phone. Thank you, sir.
Well, I appreciate it. I agree with everything he said except one thing. He said down here in Mississippi. I'm in Florida. Mississippi is up there from me. All right. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Savannah. I'm from Tennessee.
All right, Savannah, what's on your mind?
Well, I'm a butcher, just for background.
A butcher?
and-
You're an actual butcher?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I cut meat.
Okay.
And I've been
Get ready, Mike.
still looking for some more work in the mountains, and I was going to work at this hunting reserve, and I did my first day of work there. And just for a little background, I'm not a Trump supporter.
Oh, my goodness.
But I don't have any problem with Trump supporters. I'm not like, I don't go about my life just trying to argue with them all day.
Mm-hmm.
So I go there and I have a successful first day. But afterwards, the people who own it, the guy was like, we don't do censorship here. And I said, that's fine. I don't want anybody's rights of freedom of speech to be infringed upon, right? Sure. No censorship. And then he asked me, are you a Trump supporter? And I answer honestly, because I'm not a liar, And he says, well, when we're talking about Trump here, you just have to keep your fucking mouth shut.
Oh, there we go. All right. There we go. Didn't I tell you, Mike? I knew at the beginning of that call we were going to get to the dump button. You hear me? Did you hear me say, be ready, Mike? If you're on hold, stand by as we wait for the delay to re-engage. That's the fourth time. It's unfortunate because I was waiting for her to finish to talk to her. First off, she's not a butcher. Second of all, which I would have gotten into that and exposed that. But the other thing is this idea that she got confronted about we're MAGA here and we, come on. The whole story was BS. And I was being patient with her to let her say her say so then I could question her on it. But then she dropped the F-bomb. So there we go. I mean, this is one of those days, people. This is one of those days. That's right. Oh, man. I tell you. It's what I'll tell you what it is. There was a book, the Gen Z and millennials cannot have a conversation without the F word. And I first saw this when with David Hogg after the Parkland shooting, when the Parkland kids were talking, and he's big on the F word. And I remember seeing an interview with David Hogg at home on television with his parents, and he was using the F word. And I got to tell you, I am 54 years old. My mother's never heard me use the F word, not that I know of, at least. But that book came out years ago called, it's one of those self-help books, How Not to Give a F or something like that. And it started this whole thing with Gen Z and millennials just constantly using the F word. And I'm not here to tell you that I don't use profanities and have not dropped such things, but we're on the radio. We're on a bunch of radio stations. You cannot use profanity. And, and I just don't think that it's in their vocabulary to not use profanity. Now, I want to talk to you guys about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I got a message from a listener. I get messages like this all the time. I got a message from a listener who watched my documentary on YouTube on the golf course assassination attempt of President Trump at Trump National here in Florida. And, that, which, by the way, guys, watch that video. I am the only person that has done that. And I did it a couple days after the assassination attempt on the president. And it was the day that they took the crime scene tape away. I was there. And I go every step. I start the documentary where the assassin took the shots at. I right in those spot in the bushes. I follow his escape route and even show you his escape route all the way up of I-95. And I stop at the exact spot is where the documentary ends, where he was arrested. But I got a message. It's on YouTube. Just, you can look it up and watch it and share it on all your socials. But anyway, I got a message from a guy who watched that documentary yesterday, and he says, man, you have lost weight. Yeah, of course, and you could see it in that video. That video was, like 8 months ago? 9 months ago? And you look at that video, I can't believe what I look like then. It's almost embarrassing. I wish I could go and recreate that, but I can't go back in time and do it. Because when you go and watch that documentary, you will see the difference in my face and neck then and now. Because in the YouTube video, you see mostly when you see me, you see my face, and because I'm making the video. And it's another person. And all this weight I've lost, you can see it. And it's because of Coastal Weight Loss Secret. And I've been hearing from so many listeners, because people watch me online, and they'll go back and watch an old video from a couple months ago, and they'll tell me how much they can see it. And it's so unusual in this line of work to get positive comments from people who listen to you about your personal appearance. You really don't get a lot of positive comments about your personal appearance from listeners in this business. You get a lot of negative comments. And in all my decades of being a broadcaster, this is the first time I've gotten compliments, mass compliments, about my appearance, and it's all about my weight loss. And not only do they tell me I've lost so much weight, and they can see it, what I also get is, you look younger. It's taken years off of my appearance as well. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. And remember, I lost all this weight without exercise, not any exercise, no prescription medications like Ozempic, and I'm eating foods I would normally eat, okay? 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. We'll be right back. Yeah, I've added a bunch of new lines, and they're filling up. So that's awesome. I saw Chuck in the chat room about that guy. He said I would not be using him in the commercial. No, I will be using that guy in the. I will do some editing. But the reason I wasn't talking when he was talking was so I didn't mess up what he was saying. I'll have to edit it down a little bit. But that was very nice, yes. We'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. If you're on hold, hang in there. Yeah, I mean, in all the studios I've worked at, I have never added phone lines or even thought about adding phone lines. And I added phone lines and boom, they're filled up. So that's amazing. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, guys, all right? We'll be back in about 90 seconds. About. Not exactly, but close to that. There is one opening on the board. We're in a commercial break, M, for the radio station. We'll be back in 1 minute. Sometimes I gotta rest. I can't talk during all the breaks. You know how much talking I do? Oh my jaw, it's Friday. My jaws are sore. And I got to do a podcast today and stuff. I got to record some commercials when I get off the air for the radio show. You know, so sometimes during the breaks I can't talk that much because my jaws right here are sore from the week of talking. Between this, my podcast, all the YouTube streams I do, plus a great production. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. It is Open MAGA Mic Friday, open phones. Any and everything on your mind is fair game on Friday's show. I mentioned earlier that I've added some phone lines, which I have never done ever, in any studio I've ever worked out of, and I've never even thought about doing it, but I did add some phone lines, and all but one of them is filled up right now. That's absolutely amazing. Our number, 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I am calling back.
Yeah, the butcher. Can you not use the F word? Can you not use the F word?
I'm apologizing.
Yeah, she's going to do it again.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was like a sensitive thing for you.
No, it's not sensitive. It's against the law. We're on the radio. You can't use the F word on the radio. Plus, I'm sure you consider yourself
I had no idea you were on the radio.
We're on a bunch of radio stations, and I'm sure you consider yourself a lady. Nice ladies don't use the F word like that. It's classless.
Okay.
So you were telling us that, by the way, the rest of you on hold, stand by. I knew it was you, and I wanted to finish this conversation. So you started this new job, and your supervisor, your boss, told you what about politics?
Oh, he said that I basically couldn't talk when they were talking about Trump.
He told you couldn't talk when they were talking about Trump. Why can you not talk when they're talking about Trump?
I did not ask why.
Okay, now slow down. This was your first day. This was your first day at work. This was your first day at work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
How would they know that you're not?
It was my first day there.
How would they know? Hold on a second. How would they know that you were not MAGA? That you're one of these wackadoodle liberal idiots? How did they know that?
I would ask that you don't call me an idiot, but
well, you don't support Trump, and you're an American. That's pretty idiotic to me. But how would they know that you don't support Trump?
like I said, he asked me directly.
Asked you what?
He asked me if I'm a Trump supporter.
What did he say exactly? And what did this conversation happen? You started
He
work.
said-
You started work. You're a butcher.
Yeah.
So what were you butchering?
We were butchering a hog. It was a hunting reserve.
A hunting reserve. Okay, so you're butchering a hog. And what type of butchering device do you have? Do you use?
A knife.
What kind of
And
knife?
I have a meat grinder as well.
What kind of knife?
Just a regular knife.
Just a regular knife? Like I have a Ginsu knife in my kitchen that I cut steak with. What kind of knife were you using?
A knife.
What grade? What grade
They
of
just
steel?
have-
What
they
what
just
grade
have
of
the
steel?
knife
What grade
there.
of steel was it? I'm curious. To cut wild boar, which I've done, by the way. I've hunted wild boar here in Florida. What grade of steel was the knife?
I really don't.
You know,
I don't know much
do you
about,
know what
like,
you're
the
doing?
grades of
You know what you're
steel,
doing?
but
Well, if you
I
were a
know
butcher,
the
you
cuts of
would.
meat.
If you were a butcher, you
I
would.
could tell you the cuts of meat, but I
Okay,
couldn't tell you the,
so when he
the
taught,
steel
give me a
grade of
break.
knife,
One thing that butchers
or the
know
knives that
and
they
chefs
had,
know are
you
about
know,
their
I used-
knives. You're butchering your story. But okay, so you've got this Ginsu steak knife in your hand. You're butchering a hog. At what point
I
did
don't
your
think it was a Ginsu steak knife. It wasn't a very fancy, like,
So
wasn't a very uppity,
at
you know.
what point did this fictitious employer approach you and tell you not to talk about Trump?
At the end of the day, after I was done cleaning up, he was telling me about the company culture and that it's a family business, and they're all Trump supporters there. And then he asked me, "Do you support Trump?" And I said, "No, not really." But it was kind of awkward because I've never had an employer ask me that.
Well, there must be something about you that made him think you're not a Trump supporter. What do you look like?
I think it's because my hair is short. Maybe I look,
Oh, do you have some preferred pronouns or something? What are your preferred pronouns?
No. Anything you call me is fine by me. I don't.
Okay, so you told him you don't support Trump. So are you going back to work?
They haven't called for me back, so I don't.
Well, I thought they
think so, but
hired
I
you.
still
You were
have- I
hired,
have
and you
other
went to.
jobs,
You were
so-
hired, and you went back. You went there
I wasn't
to.
officially hired. It was kind of a first day kind of testing thing.
So when did this happen?
This was about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. So when you report, what they did was illegal, right? So when you went to the attorney to file
I didn't go to any attorney.
Oh.
I haven't, addressed this legally. I'm not.
Why don't you support Trump? What is it about Trump you don't like? Why does a fictitious butcher in Tennessee not support Trump?
He's okay. I've been working in animal processing for over 4 years.
Okay. So why don't you support Trump?
So I just don't agree with a lot of his policies.
What's an example of a policy you don't agree with?
Blocking habeas corpus.
What is do you know what habeas corpus is?
Yes, it's the right to get a court date, basically.
Yeah, defend yourself.
So
who is he?
The government can't just arrest you for any reason, for no reason.
You have a right. You have a right. You have a right to defend yourself. That's right. So who did he suspend habeas corpus for?
It doesn't necessarily matter.
He hasn't. But the answer you don't know. You don't know. He has not. Excuse me. He has not done that.
Congressional approval.
He has not done that. He has not suspended habeas corpus. So you don't support him for something he hasn't done.
Approval.
He hasn't. No. President Lincoln did it with an executive order. President Roosevelt did it in the Second World War with an executive order without Congress. President Trump has not suspended habeas corpus for anyone. So what is a reason, what is a policy of his that you disagree?
Immigrants, yes,
No, he has not. No, he has not. What policy of his do you disagree with that he's actually done?
I think starting a tariff war.
A tariff war?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Tariffs,
Tell me about that.
A lot of tariffs kind of starts a trade war and kind of gives us a bad rap with the rest of the world.
No, he has not started a tariff war. That is not true. What has he stated is his goal with the tariffs, which are import-export taxes? What has he said?
I'm not entirely sure what he said about
Well,
it.
how can you? But you're opposed to what he's doing. Maybe,
war?
how can you be opposed to what he's doing if you don't know what it is he's done? The first thing you did, his first policy you don't support him for, he hasn't done.
Well, how do you define a tariff war?
Well, no. Hold on. It doesn't. No. The first thing you said, I don't support him because of this. He hasn't done it. The second reason you gave me, you don't even know what he said. So if you don't know what he said, maybe you agree with him. If you don't know what he said about tariffs, how do you know you don't support him?
Because the prices are not going down.
No, you don't know what he said.
I'm having to pay more on stuff.
You're having to pay more on stuff. Well, I'm not. Prices are going down where I'm at. But how can you disagree with what he said if you don't know what he said? Let me tell you something. You're an excellent butcher. What you've butchered is your argument.
He's a great,
No, you don't know what his policy is. So if you don't know what he said in his policy, how can you disagree with it? Hey, listen, I got to run for a commercial break, but thanks for the call. Oh, my goodness. Let me tell you something. I've never known a chef, a cook, or a butcher, and I have known butchers, by the way, because I have hunted for wild game and taken them to butchers. They know all about their knives. In fact, these people get obsessed with their knives. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Is she a professional butcher? What do you think? Yes or no? Professional butcher? Would a butcher not know the knives that they use? I took that break way late. I knew it was her on the line. I wanted to get her back on, so it was close to when she had originally called. Yeah, I think that was the rice farmer, possibly. Yeah. Meat cutters are not butchers. There's a difference. Meat cutters you have at the grocery store, they are not butchers. Butchers have already cut the meat that gets to the grocery store. We'll be back in a little more than about a minute, minute and a half. Well, a lot of people that don't like Trump don't know why they don't like him when you get down to it. We'll be back in a minute. A frog in science class. Thirty seconds. We're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. Open MAGA Mic, Open Phone Friday. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once.
Yo.
Oh, yo. Yes, you called me.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that, mate. I just moved to America. I'm from, I live in Idaho, Amon right now. I was just about to ask you a question about this.
Here we go.
What is your opinion on the fact that Donald Trump took $323 million, sorry, I'm British, dollars, from a Rockefeller-owned company in 1991 to save his failed casino businesses?
I heard the papers moving of the talking points in the background. I'm going to respond to your question. But before I do, I'm going to say this. You say you're from England?
Yeah, but I live in America for the last 7 years.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you that we don't need any redcoats in the United States telling us what's wrong with our government, okay? But I'll respond.
I've lived there for 7 years. A lot of my family is from here for like generations.
Yeah, well, but you're not, okay? And the redcoats, the American Revolution was the beginning of your empire. But I'll answer.
The Rothschilds own England and the Rothschilds own America.
Yeah, the Rothschilds. All right. Listen, you can say you asked a question. Excuse me. You asked a question about Trump taking money from someone in 1990 something.
Oh, basically, Trump took $323 million from a Rockefeller.
From a Rockefeller.
In 1991.
Well, I'm not.
To save his failing business.
To save his business.
What is your opinion?
My opinion is. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to answer. I'm getting ready to. What's your first name, by the way?
Joshua.
Joshua the Redcoat. Okay. I don't know.
Why do you insult your
What's insulting about British pride?
Do you even remember the question? Do you remember the question?
Oh yeah, I remember the question, and I'm about to answer the question. Okay.
No indoctrination needed. I don't need to know about pronouns.
I don't need any documents, and you're not going to get any pronouns. Okay. But here's my response. Okay, and I know nothing about this. I don't know that what you said is true or untrue. It doesn't matter. Here's my response. I don't care. I don't care.
Of course, I mean, Trump can't do anything wrong in your opinion.
It's not that Trump cannot do anything wrong. He could. No. Trump could do something wrong, but he hasn't.
But Rockefeller is a very, very powerful cabal family. They're not the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
So him taking money from them is obviously bad. Inevitably.
First off, like I said, I don't know if what you said is true or not, but I don't care. Now, why do you think I don't care? Why do you think I don't care?
You're an idiot.
No. Guess again. No, it's not that. I may indeed be an idiot, but that's not why I don't care.
Brown-nosed fascists like Trump who want to kill Palestinian kids, and he's a paedophile, by the way, obviously. So you brown-nose him to feel special.
I what to feel special?
You brown-nosed billionaires who fuck kids.
Oh, there we go. Dump button again, Mike. Here we go. Oh, my goodness. Is that 5 or 6? Is that 5 or 6? And I got to tell you something. That is one I've never heard before. Is that the 5th or 6th time, Mike, we've hit the dump button today? I've lost track. If you're on hold, stand by as we wait for the delay to re-engage. But you know, I've never heard a caller say that to me before. That is a first. But while we're waiting for the delay to re-engage, it gives me time to do a spot. 5. Okay, that was the 5th time we've used the dump button today. Oh my goodness. It gives me an opportunity to talk about Lighthouse Medical. If you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy, you know, using the dump button, it helps me get all the spots in. If you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy, I don't have to tell you, it is living torture. Lighthouse Medical has a treatment for neuropathy that works. Worked on Steve Kane, rid him of his neuropathy symptoms, and I've talked to many of our listeners that have had the same experience. Not only does the treatment at Lighthouse Medical work, ridding you of your neuropathy symptoms, the dizziness, the feeling of pins and needles, the burning, all of them, but it lasts. Steve had his neuropathy treatment over 2.5 years ago, and his symptoms have not returned. Give Lighthouse Medical a call. Make sure you tell them you heard about him on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of the no-charge consultation. Here's the number, 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. Okay, back to the phones. Oh, my goodness. That was something. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. Good morning. It is Jeff, Sarasota. How are you today?
I'm doing all right, Sarasota. How are you?
Well, I'm doing okay. First off, I wanted to make sure that you took care of that guy who tried to threaten you on the radio.
I'm not going to talk about those the details of those things.
Okay.
But things are in progress. Okay. There's things going on.
Well, I think any violence of any sort is definitely something that is just
I don't want to talk. The only reason it was discussed is because it happened on the air, and I don't want to revisit it.
Okay. Well, no problem at all. Well, let's visit something that I think we both enjoy together. And if I'm not correct, please correct me. We're both Star Trek fans, I'm assuming, correct?
It is open phones, yes. I don't know about you, but I am, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of surprised that you're a Star Trek fan.
Why?
And if you would get to a few key points, maybe we could discuss them normally, because I'm sure you've had a lot of people that you've...
Yeah. Now, before you do this, not only am I a Star Trek fan, for those that don't know, I'm a lifelong Star Trek fan, and I used to MC Star Trek conventions years ago around America when I was younger. And it's a funny thing you say that. There's these two guys that are professional writers in Hollywood that have a Star Trek podcast, and they were shocked that I was a Star Trek fan too because I'm MAGA. But anyway, get to your thing.
Well, would you not agree with me that for the most part, every villain in Star Trek is a tyrant who demands loyalty and lies to his people, correct?
Every villain?
Yeah, for the most part. That's pretty much MAGA.
Lies to his people and is a tyrant? I don't think Sargon. I don't think Sargon was a tyrant who lied to his people. He was trying to save his people.
Isn't it true that scientists are the heroes in general, but MAGA attacks?
Well,
science?
Give me, since you're such a big Star Trek fan, tell me about Sargon.
Sargon? Are you talking about the original series here?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
But
if you're a real Star Trek fan, the original Star Trek is where I'm talking. So you don't know anything about the original Star Trek series?
Across the board, Star Trek is anti-MAGA.
Really? Give me an example. Give me an example of Star Trek being anti-MAGA. And by the way, I will tell you, Jerry Ryan, who plays Seven of Nine on Star Trek Voyager, you remember her?
Of course.
She blocked me on X. And Will Wheaton, who I've hung out with, Wesley Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation, blocked me on X and deleted a comment of mine on YouTube the other day. So, so you're not alone with people taking issue with my Star Trek fandom. Some of the actual actors have done it as well.
I appreciate that you're a Star Trek fan, and maybe that means that there's some hope for you.
What are Star Trek fans known as? You say you're a Star Trek fan. What are Star Trek fans known as?
Trekkies, of course.
No, you're not a Star Trek fan. It's Trekker. If you're a real Star Trek fan, it's Trekker. Trekkies are the fake.
Trekker.
Give me an example of Star Trek being anti-MAGA.
Because Star Trek teaches us the value of truth and independent thought, and MAGA calls every fact fake news. It's not freedom.
Every what? What was that first thing you said before fact? Yeah.
Star Trek teaches us the value of truth and independent thought.
Well, President Trump having live press conferences with unvetted questions like I take open. President Trump does his version of screenless calls like I do with the liberal press and the Oval Office on TV. That's not a tyrants, okay? Tyrants don't have live open press conferences taking questions from dissidents, like the NBC reporter the other day with the South African president. So that's just not the case. Listen, you can try to bond with me all day over Star Trek, but if I talk about Star Trek too long, Steve will ream me out after the show. But MAGA... yeah, go ahead.
You won't even let me...
Yeah, finish.
I can't believe that you're MAGA when Star Trek imagined a future where we embraced diversity and worked together as one species.
Really?
While MAGA,
there's a thing in Star Trek. It's a Vulcan thing. It's called EDIC, and it stands for infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And here's the thing, okay? You talk about diversity. The MAGA movement is the most diverse political movement in the history of the United States. Just earlier, we were talking about who the second MAGA president may be, and I think Trump's favorite that I support is Marco Rubio. He's Cuban American, and I'm talking about him passing over the white guy. Our Treasury Secretary, who's handling the tariff policies and whatnot, is openly gay. In fact, he's the first openly gay senior cabinet official. Mayor Pete was a low-level guy. This is a cabinet and a movement filled with diversity, more diverse than the Democrats.
Well, you want to know something amazing about how you bring up the past?
I'm talking about the present. I'm talking about right now, Marco Rubio. If we're a racist movement, why are we talking about making a man with brown skin the second MAGA president?
If you're not a racist movement...
No, excuse me. You say that we're racist and against diversity. If that is true, why are we talking about making a man with brown skin the second MAGA president?
Why are most members of the...
No, that's not an answer. That's not an answer. That's a question.
Yeah, it is.
Logically explain to me why a racist movement that you claim MAGA is talking about making a person with brown skin the second MAGA president. You don't answer questions with questions. You answer them with answers. You can't do it. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, here's the thing. If I can answer you. Here's the thing. I don't think MAGA will be able to stop after the destruction that Trump will be
Okay,
doing.
I got to move on. He's not answering the question. I'm late for the break. We'll be back. Hey, Barry, it's Brian. Hold on. All right, Barry, we have about 35 seconds. You there, Barry?
I'm here.
Okay, stand by. 20 seconds. We are back, and it's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, how you doing, and what do you have for us today?
Good morning, Brian. What I have today is, we talk about planning for long-term care and the possibility for many people to be able to qualify to get the government benefit of Medicaid so that you don't have to worry about running out of money before you run out of life. But it's not automatic. It's not like the time comes where you need the care and you could just call us or any elder law attorney and get qualified. Some people could be in a position where they could easily be qualified without any pre-planning, but most people, there are some things that they'll need to do to pre-plan to be in a position where when the time comes, the attorney doesn't have to say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. So you want to make sure that you have certain things in place to be ready to qualify when that comes. So it would be a good idea to give us a call and schedule a time to come in just to review, see if there's anything you need to do to pre-plan to make sure that when the time comes, you're ready and you could qualify if you need to. And that's what we can help you with.
Yeah, and at the Siegel Law Group, you have an entire team of people that specialize in Medicaid planning. And, when I went to your most recent workshop in Boca, I'd been to a lot of your workshops about revocable living trust, but you talked in that one in detail about the Medicaid planning, which was the first time I saw that presentation, which is fantastic. And you want to go to these workshops, they're amazing. And pretty much almost everybody seems to qualify for the Medicaid planning when they come to you. Now, if you're Donald Trump or a member of the Kennedy family, or your dad's Bill Gates or something, you may not qualify. But I was amazed how many people do qualify, and I think the biggest mistake people make is not calling you and have you and your team look over to see if the person actually qualifies or not. People should not assume they don't, right?
Absolutely, and that's why we'll do the free analysis and review everything, and then if there's anything they need to do to be prepared when the time comes, we could get that taken care of so that nobody has to worry about it. Going forward.
And the Medicaid planning can save a family's financial future. Okay, it covers the at-home and the nursing home care. It covers at-home and nursing home care, right? Am I correct about that?
And assisted living.
Oh.
It pays the lion's share of the nursing home. Will pay up to $1,800 towards the medical portion of the assisted living, and it will pay for up to 40 hours of care a week.
There you go.
For home care.
I mean, this is life-saving. Listen, give the Siegel Law Group a call. Remember, no matter where you are in the state of Florida, the Siegel Law Group can help. Their number's toll-free, 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782, and online, SiegelLawGroup.com. That's SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we'll talk next week.
All right, have a great weekend.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care. There's only one opening on the board, and that's where Attorney Barry Siegel was at, and I got to tell you, adding these new lines, I'm amazed. They're all filled up. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Renee from Harlem.
Hey, Renee.
Yeah, I've been listening to you spew your venom, and you got a bunch of Afrikaners that are trying to squat here in this country, and you got your apartheid Musk trying to bring apartheid up here, and I want you racists to know you're not going to settle here, okay? Because we will do to you...
Okay, no. It's... Isn't this crazy? Did you know where he was going with that? You can't do that, Renee. I mean, my goodness. My goodness. And if you listen to every call, I go out of my way to be polite to him, don't I? I think I do. I'm always, how you doing, Renee? Good to hear from you. Unbelievable. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, the real conservative, Doug.
Oh, yeah, Doug. Yeah.
I can't believe, man, I heard that guy trying to imitate me anyway. I'm calling for this big bill. I know with Congress, you always have to have settlement and compromise, blah, blah, blah. But it would have been nice if everything that President Trump wanted, which he's got, would be permanent instead of just while he's president. The other thing I don't like about it is 1,000 pages. I know as soon as they put 1,000 pages, I start thinking there must be a lot of stuff being hidden in there that they don't want people to see.
1,000 pages is actually short for these bills. They're usually like 50,000. Yeah. It's small, and this is not the final bill, Doug.
Yeah, I know, but
it's not. So I don't know why you're upset. It's not the final bill.
Well, I look at it like the Constitution that you printed out is maybe 4 pages long and it runs the whole government. Why does the bill have to be 1,000 pages or more? I think it's just way too many.
I mean, I'd like it if it was just on one page, in bullet points, No more taxes.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
No more illegals.
Just
finish the wall.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, but this is not the final bill.
Brian Craig for Congress, man. More people thinking like you.
Yeah. All right. Take care. I don't know how that would go. Okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm Joshua. I'm calling from Connecticut.
Joshua. What's up, Joshua?
Hey, I've listened to your show probably once or twice a month for probably 2 or 3 years now. We don't agree on much, if anything, but I do think that your show has a finger on the pulse of the MAGA movement.
Yes.
And so I'm usually not surprised by the things you say. But today, when you said Donald Trump is the only president who hasn't been financially corrupt in the history of the country, did I understand that?
Yeah, to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me. On the same week that he accepts a $400 million plane from Qatar.
Well, he didn't accept a plane from Qatar.
Who did? The Department?
The United States government was gifted a plane from Qatar that is going to be the property of the United States Air Force. President Trump wasn't gifted a plane.
Okay, well, President Trump did say that Qatar was a funder of terrorism, was a funder of Hezbollah, was a funder of Hamas.
But you know what? So are we. Look at Columbia University and Harvard. We're funding. What does that mean? There's this Islamic terrorist.
So that's okay?
No, hold on. This Islamic terrorist that killed these 2 Israeli kids in D.C. the night before last. Okay, this liberal Democrat like you. He was an American, and he just committed an Islamic act of terrorism in our capital. So what does that mean about the country? And so far as President, and this is what I mean about President Trump. No, hold on a second. This is what I mean about President Trump. This is what I mean about, hold on. You said that I said he's the only president that's not corrupt. Every other president we've had, other than Donald Trump, has been controlled by the donors of the day. And I use a couple examples. Our first president, George Washington. George Washington was, some say the richest man in the colonies, some say the second richest. But do you think it's just a coincidence that the richest man in the colonies became our first president and built the United States Capitol right up the street from his house? Abraham Lincoln was in the pocket of the railroads. That's why he authorized he was a railroad attorney, and the railroads backed him. Okay, Ronald Reagan, as great as he was, had the military-industrial complex behind him. Okay, Donald Trump he's taking on these people. Look what he did to Big Pharma. Big Pharma may have more juice in government with payoffs to politicians than the military-industrial complex, and he just shut them down yesterday. So he is the first president to be independent from the donor class of the day. And that's something that all Americans really should appreciate.
Even though he accepted a bribe of $400 million.
But he didn't. He didn't. You know, the president's desk, the Resolute desk that our presidents use, was a gift from England. And you know the Statue of Liberty from France. President Trump was not gifted an airplane. The United States of America was gifted an airplane. It is the property of the U.S. government and the Air Force, not the president. It was not a gift.
It's a silly argument.
It's the truth. Your argument's absurd.
It is not prepared to be Air Force One.
Well, it will be though. They're gonna upgrade it. It will be
at a cost of millions of dollars.
I'm sorry. Your premise is.
Trump can't wait for a new Air Force.
Okay, listen. I gotta take our break for the top of the hour. But I'm sorry. President Trump was not gifted an airplane from anyone. He has his own airplanes, by the way, personal aircraft. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. 2 hours down, 1 to go. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. Back after this. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Yeah, these are very cheap glasses. In fact, they're falling apart. These are readers that I wear so I can read the chat. And I buy these $20. I buy a whole box of them, and then when I lose them or they break, I buy another whole box. In fact, I got to order a new box today. Yeah, these are readers. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Yeah, I can't see the chat without him. Let me see if I can tell him to get a screwdriver. I'm looking for the screwdriver for these glasses. I'll find it when I get off the air. I've got a screwdriver for this eyeglasses. I can't find it. These liberals convince themselves of so much ridiculous crap. If you're on hold, hang in there. We got a little over a minute and we'll be back. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys, okay? This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. It is Open Phones on Friday, Open MAGA Mike Friday, we call it. You could call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. The other days, well, you got to stick to what we're talking about. And we've had some pretty good calls today. That last caller, I think he was in shock. He wasn't prepared for the reality that President Trump was not gifted a plane. These liberals, if you notice with these liberals I've talked to today, they convince themselves of things that aren't true, that President Trump was given a $500 million aircraft. That's not true. It's, the other liberal caller, the lady butcher, she was under the impression that... What was it she said, her policy? Oh, yes. She was under the impression that President Trump had suspended habeas corpus, which he has not done. She opposes him because he did something he didn't do. Then she said she was opposed to his position on tariffs. She doesn't know what he said about tariffs. The liberals have some problems. All right, let's go back to our very busy phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. It's Will from Ohio.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, I guess I have a couple of things to talk about. Another classic liberal calling in. First of all, come on, let's be real. If Joe Biden was accepting a $400 million Qatari jet, you'd be a little bit upset. Come on.
Well, actually, as you're laughing, you're obviously not familiar with the Qatar jet gift to America.
If it was under Biden's watch, you'd be all riled up just like everyone.
Okay, now you said it twice. Obviously, you're not aware that it was the Biden administration that brokered the deal for the jet.
And even then...
Oh, well, I thought you said I'd be upset about it. Biden set up the deal.
Are you not?
No.
I don't even know if that's true.
It is true.
But
it was reported last week.
About that.
No, I'm not. Biden set up the Biden White House. Excuse me. The Biden White House were the ones that brokered the deal for the gift to America, not Trump. It was reported last week. So you're wrong.
You understand it's going to take years to turn it into Air Force One in the first place.
I don't think so.
It will. It will, but that's not the main reason.
I know. Now that I shot that down. Okay, next. You want to try again?
You didn't shoot anything down.
Yeah, I did.
You said something. You said a random fact that could or may not be.
It is true. It is true. It was reported last week.
The smallest problem.
Well, it's what you brought up. I'm talking about what you brought up to me. All right, next.
Listen. If you want to talk about corruption, the Trump family over the past 3 months has increased their net worth by $3 billion. That is corruption. It has come from the Trump coin. It has come from the deals in the Middle East that they're doing with Saudi Arabia. That is blatant corruption. If you learn that the Biden family increased their net worth by $3 billion via personal dealings in the Middle East, you would not be okay with that.
Well, the Bidens...
Just say anything negative about Trump.
There's nothing negative to say about Trump, and I'm going to respond to what you said, okay? First off, the Bidens, his family made money, right? Hunter and his brother. They made money accepting bribes for their dad, Joe, okay? They were like money launderers, bagmen.
And that's wrong.
What the Trump family, you've got people in that family that are in business. Don Jr., Eric, Jared Kushner, and they're in business and they have businesses going on. What are they supposed to not do business because their last name is Trump? Now, people may want to do business with them because they're famous celebrities now and their dad or their father-in-law is the president, but so what? What money has Trump put? What bribe money has Trump put in his pocket? He doesn't even run the Trump organization.
The Trump coin is all bribe money.
President Trump is taking bribes. So I've bought Trump coin. I'm bribing Trump. Most people that buy Trump coin are MAGA people. Why do you think I bought Trump coin? I bought Trump coin and I have stock. Hold on. I have Trump coin and I also have some of his media company stock. Why do you think I own Trump coin? I own Trump coin. Why? Why do you think I own it? You think I own it to bribe Trump?
Because you're a poor investor, I suppose.
I didn't buy it for investment purposes. Same with the stocks. Why do you think I bought it? Why are you giggling? Are you high? You're giggling a lot.
This is the dumbest thing. Who buys something for a billionaire to donate to the
Why? No, why?
billionaire's
Think about
fund?
it. Think about it. Why do you think I have bought Trump coin? I own Trump coin. Why do you think I bought it?
You personally, because you're a bad investor. Other
No,
people,
I didn't
because
buy
they
it.
are
No,
actively
I didn't
bribing
buy
Trump.
it for. I did not buy it for investment purposes.
I don't know what you want me to say here.
I want you to try
Why
to
would you buy it?
get. Well, the problem is when you are given new information that you haven't been fed by some liberal propagandist, you don't know how to respond. The reason that I own Trump coin is the reason that most people own Trump coin, and it's not investment. Same goes with his media company. We love Trump because he's such a great man and president, and we want to own a piece of Trump. It's almost like a novelty.
Oh, so you want to buy a piece of Trump?
Correct.
So you want to donate to a billionaire?
Well, that's not a donation. It's kind of like a novelty thing. You know, as an example.
But you're not expecting.
Not
anything
as an
back,
example.
but you want to donate to a billionaire?
I'm assuming.
That's so cultish.
No, it's not. I'm a fan. You know, like somebody was talking about my Star Trek fandom. I have Star Trek memorabilia that I've bought, that I hold because I, want to own a piece of Star Trek.
It's digital currency. It's not memorabilia.
I'll never sell the Trump coin. It's to own a piece of Trump.
Because you already lost your money.
I don't know. I don't know what I paid for to what it is now. I don't care.
That's weird.
No, it's not. You just don't get it. It's not weird.
I would never purchase a Biden coin.
I wouldn't either. That wouldn't be worth anything.
I would never try to donate to the Biden family. That's weird.
No, I'm not donating to President Trump. But I'll tell you another thing. I'm assuming he's going to build this presidential museum here in Florida. I've talked about this a lot. When I retire, my retirement plan is to be a tour guide at the Trump Presidential Museum. I plan on spending my senior years as a tour guide at the Trump Presidential Museum here. And when they start to build that museum, I will probably donate money and try to volunteer anything I can do to be a part of that. This is what you guys don't understand in the MAGA movement. We love Trump. He's like a father to us. And that Trump coin, most people that own Trump coin, and by the way, the only people I hear griping about Trump coin are people that don't hold it. People own Trump coin because they love Trump and they want to own a piece of Trump. And guys will never get it.
Okay. Let's explain this then. A couple months back, I can't remember his exact name. There was a crypto billionaire guy. He was under investigation by the SEC. Miraculously, after $70 million of Trump coin are bought by this guy, the SEC drops the case.
I've heard that story. I seriously doubt President Trump had anything to do with that. But I'll tell you, you want to talk about corruption with cryptocurrency. Bankman-Fried. Remember Bankman-Fried?
Yeah, that guy's a terrible person.
Well, he ran a whole corrupt operation with Zelensky and the Democrats. And
guess what?
Let me tell people what it is. Listen. Everything I'm about to tell you and everything I say on the air, you guys can look it up online. I mean, I'm very public, and and I take live calls to be fact checked. What I said about the Biden administration starting you guys can look all that up. Bankman-Fried, I forgot the name of his coin. What was the name of his coin? Do you remember? I forgot the name of it. Bankman-Fried's crypto. I forgot the name of it.
No, he ran the crypto exchange or whatever.
No, he had his own crypto. I forget what it was
He
called.
didn't have a coin.
Yeah, he had a crypto. What was it called, guys? Remember what it was called? Somebody will let me know. I forgot what it was called. The FTX, STX, something like that.
FTX.
FTX. Okay. The United States under Joe Biden gave unlimited amounts of money to Zelensky, right? Like billions and billions of dollars, right? Zelensky bought $100 million worth of Bankman-Fried's FTX. He bought $100 million. And look all this up, guys. Why would Zelensky buy a risky investment like crypto while he needs all the money he can to save his country from Russian aggression? That seems kind of weird, doesn't it?
Well, it seems I don't know anything about this,
everything
so
I'm saying. You guys can look this up, okay?
I can't
Zelensky.
I'm on the phone with you.
When the call's over, you can look it up, and people are listening.
Okay,
and all the people listening can look this up too. Hold on.
Here's what I can say.
No. I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish what I'm saying. Zelensky with American money. Think about this. Zelensky with American money that Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and the Palestinian senator from New York, Chuck Schumer, gave to Ukraine. Zelensky took $100 million and bought FTX coin from Bankman-Fried. After Zelensky bought all that FTX coin from Bankman-Fried, Bankman-Fried donated over $30 million to the Democrat Party that they used to finance their entire midterm campaign to a couple of election cycles ago. That's money laundering. The Democrats gave Zelensky the money.
Google.
No,
Facebook,
that is direct.
All donated money to the Trump fund.
That's not the same thing. But they donated their own money. They donated their own money. Bezos donated his own money. Zelensky bought crypto with U.S. taxpayer money, $100 million, and Bankman-Fried then funded the entire midterm election.
I'm not talking about Zelensky.
Well, I don't care what you're talking about. I know you don't want to talk about it, but if you want to talk about crypto,
I don't care.
Well, you brought up
Zelensky.
crypto fraud. So I'm giving you an example of real crypto fraud. Listen, I got to run for the break, but I appreciate the call. Look all that up. That's money laundering. What the Democrats did with Bankman-Fried and Zelensky is money laundering. We'll be back. Hey, that's it. I'm texting Mike, the board op at the radio station. Mm-hmm. If you're on hold, hang on. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I imagine some of you people own Trump. Who cares about the price? Most people that own it are people that support Trump like me. Yeah, that I know he didn't want to talk about what the Democrats did with FTX. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Open phone, open MAGA mic Friday. Our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good day. My name is 10th Man, and I'm in Canada, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
How are you today?
I'm all right. What's on your mind, Canada?
I understand your reservations.
What were I have no reservations.
So I've been watching for quite...
My mother-in-law is from Canada. She's a U.S. citizen now, but my mother-in-law is from Canada. I hang out with her Canadian relatives all the time. Yeah.
I know. It's very strange to me when people are like, oh, you're from Canada. And I'm like, right. And half my family's in America.
All right. What's on your mind? You called me. It sounds like you're drinking that Canadian whiskey. What's on your mind?
No, bro. I'm sober as a judge. I just lost power. So, but anyway, I much appreciate that you're able to keep your cool during this nonsense. I've never seen your show before. I used to do a show. I'm watching this, and it's weird that people don't bring up stuff that actually is valid. It's very, very weird. Like, so I have certain criticisms of the way the Trump administration is going, right? Mm. So, for instance, but one thing before I get into that is it's very strange to me, these people who obviously know that they're being lied to, yet they'll still stand behind the people that are lying to them.
Well, you're talking in a lot of vague generalities, so try to be specific.
I get you. Well, no, just because. So I'll skip ahead. And is there no swearing allowed on here?
You cannot swear. We're on the radio. Profanity is not allowed.
I'll try to keep it cool. I'll try to keep it cool. So, for instance, with the Doge, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very odd to me because I'm a I don't care about Trump at all type of thing. I believe that we have two mafia factions warring against each other, as per the documentation and research. That
you mentioned Doge. What's your problem with Doge?
Yep. So, well, number one, it's a conflict of interest for Elon Musk to be involved in things that affect the bottom line of his military contracts.
Mm.
Right? So, they supposedly saved, what is it, $150 billion or something like that, and then now all of a sudden, I don't know if it's exactly $150 billion, but now they're going to increase military spending rather than cut it in half, which I heard Trump say just a few weeks ago.
Well, the reason, slow down. First of all, there's no Elon Musk has not been involved in anything that's a conflict with what he does. President Trump's talked about this a great deal. So far as an increase in, excuse me, no. as far as an
But
increase,
you're making a statement of fact.
yeah, yes, I have. No. That is the President of the United States, Donald John Trump, made that statement many times, and he is a factual person, and when he says something like that, it's true. Elon Musk, no, it's true. That's just true. What Elon Musk, with the military spending, okay? The reason there's an increase in military spending. Now, you sound like a man of a few thousand words, so please try to keep it in a sentence. Why do you think there's been an increase in military spending?
Because the United States of America has, 300 military bases across the world, which they have no right to have. No,
you don't even know what you're talking about. No. The increase in military spending is because of the dome, the missile shield that President Trump just announced a few days ago, which, by the way, your idiot prime minister, your globalist climate change alarmist prime minister, Connie, wants to be a part of. The missile shield, the dome of America. That's why there's been an increase in the military spending.
Yeah,
but I'm glad.
Study, right?
But I'm going to tell you something. I'm glad you don't approve.
That's only for a study, right?
Excuse me. No, they're actually building it. It's going to happen. It's not a study.
No, that's just for the study.
Listen. Yep. In Canada, you're always behind the times. You guys got mullets still up there, okay? You're behind the times. You're always behind the times. No, it's not a study. They're making it. They're building it. But I am glad that you. Excuse me.
It's going to cost $175 million. That's it.
I am glad that you don't. Excuse me. I'm glad you don't approve of what Trump is doing. I'm glad you don't approve of what Elon Musk and the United States are doing. Why do you think that is?
I don't think that's the topic. So
the topic is I am the host of the show. I decide what the topics are.
Yeah.
It's not for you. Why do you think? Excuse me. Why do you think I'm glad that you don't approve of Trump, Elon Musk, or what this country is doing under his great leadership?
Because you like. Just from your tone, I would assume that you like that America imposes their will on the rest of the world.
Yes,
and then you
yes,
any retaliation.
Because we are the greatest country in the world, and he's making
that would be fine.
Yeah, it is fine.
That would be fine.
It is fine. And he's making
America. What you admit to.
He is making America. Excuse me. He is making America great again. Not and people around the country like you that are uncomfortable with American dominance are going to not like it. I'm sorry that you're not in the greatest. I'm sorry you're from a.
What I have a problem with.
Yeah.
What I have a problem with is when America acts like the tough guy until they get their sandcastles knocked down, and then they.
You're talking about 9/11. Listen, Canada.
Yes.
Canada is an insignificant country that has zero. That has. Excuse me. That has zero. I'm not finished.
All right, let me know when I can talk.
When I'm done talking, when I'm done speaking, Canada is an insignificant country with zero contributions to world civilization or history. You're only a client state of the United States, and the only reason your country has your healthcare system and all of that is because the United States is funding your country. You're nothing without us.
Okay.
Your response. Your response.
I just said I will concede. I'm not here to confront you.
No, Canada is nothing without the United States. 90% of the Canadian economy is based on the United States.
I conceded that.
Yeah. So you're in a country. Okay. You're in a weak country. So America being number one is uncomfortable to you.
But if I already conceded, why are you still going on that?
Because I'm going to go to a break. But I appreciate your call. I got to take a commercial break. I'm already late for the break.
Coward.
No,
you're a coward, dude.
I'm 2 minutes late for the commercial break. I'm supposed
to. I'll be right here. Hang up on me if you want.
I've got to take a commercial break.
Mm-hmm.
All right, take care. Oh my goodness. I'm supposed to take the break at 27 minutes after. It's now 29 minutes and 29 seconds after. We'll be back. Cowards don't take screenless calls on the air. Oh, my goodness. If I was a coward, I wouldn't be taking screenless calls. This is a radio station commercial break. My goodness, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? See, if that guy was an American, he would understand capitalism. All the calls are screenless, totally unvetted. I take them live on the air. No one answers the phones. We have somebody that could do that, but we don't. We'll be back in a minute and a half. IMAX was invented in Canada? Okay. Yeah. When's the last time you've been to an IMAX theater? Yeah, 95. Melinda, thank you. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. I just got a text message from PJ. You guys know PJ calls in sometime, friend of mine. He's in Lisbon, Portugal, listening to us with his lovely wife. I want to talk before we go back to the phones. It's the weekend, and if you're suffering in pain, go see Dr. Appleton today and enjoy your weekend. You know, Dr. Appleton has rid me of pain 7 times. He has rid so many people in this audience of their pain too. Some of them you've heard in commercials. It's amazing to me. You know, when I meet listeners, I can tell before they start talking to me that they're a happy patient of Dr. Appleton's, because when they walk up to me to talk, they have their hand over a part of their body. Sometimes it's their neck, sometimes it's their hip, sometimes it's their knee, sometimes it's an elbow, sometimes it's an arm. And what they come up to me and they say, this part of my body used to hurt, and I went to Dr. Appleton and I'm pain-free now. It's kind of funny when people do that. Yeah, they walk up, the hand on the hip. That's a good one. Or my knee's the favorite because they got to bend over a little bit, and they're walking towards me, bending down with their hand on their knee, and I know exactly what they're going to tell me. Dr. Appleton's amazing. His laser wave pain treatment works. It repairs the damage in your body that's causing the pain. That's why the 7 times that he's rid me of pain, sometimes from aging, like my knee or the arthritis in my hand, but sometimes it's been injuries. I've had 3 shoulder injuries from falling off my skateboard. I have hung up my skateboard. It's in the garage now. But the pains have not returned because he's repaired the damage, including my arthritis has not returned with his laser wave pain treatment. It works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. There's no shots, no injections, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime, and no appointment necessary, even on Saturdays. And remember, Dr. Appleton performs all the laser treatments himself. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. You know, we have listeners that have traveled from all over America to see Dr. Appleton. Here's his number, 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right, back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Greg, and I'm calling from Tennessee.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to know what your thoughts were on Trump's picks for, like, Tom Homan and
Oh, Tom Homan's the best. We'll slow down.
Bondi. I mean,
Tom Homan is the best. Tom Homan is the coolest guy to ever work for a president I've ever seen, the most effective, and I love that guy. I hope I get to meet and shake his hand one day. Since you asked, what's your opinion? Tell me what you think about Tom Homan.
Well, I work right across from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I would really love to see our military get what they deserve as far as their support from this country, and I don't see that much.
Yeah.
Especially that last caller you had from Canada talking about our military budget going so high.
Well, what do you want Trump to do for the military that he's not doing? He fired all these woke generals, got rid of that racist chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and they're discharging all the transgendered soldiers. What do you want him to do? What would make you happy?
I would like to see him maybe increase their pay a little bit.
Okay.
And recognize that these guys are the ones that are protecting our country.
Well, President, he does that. The second part he does all the time. With this great defense secretary we have, Pete Hegseth.
Oh, Pete Hegseth. Yes, Pete. Pete is an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Pete is an awesome guy.
Okay, we can always pay the military more. But I'll tell you what. There's a guy, I want to look up this channel and tell you guys about it next. Can you turn down the volume of whatever device you're listening to me on in the back?
Sure.
There's a delay. There's a guy who's a Marine who has a YouTube channel I was watching. And he interviews Marines of all ranks. I've seen him interview 3-star generals, and I've seen him interview privates and everywhere in between. He's an enlisted man. And he was interviewing a major who was stationed in California, and he asked him how much he makes a month. He's a single man, and a major now, not a colonel, not a lieutenant colonel, not a general, a major, and the major said how much he makes. Do you know how much a major makes in the United States Marine Corps, stationed in California? So he's not in a combat zone.
I would not have an idea about California.
Well, no, he's in a Marine Corps major. I say California because he's in the United States. He's a Marine Corps major in the United States, and he says how much he makes a year or a month. He gave the monthly pay. What do you think he gets paid a month?
I'm guessing $6,000 a month.
No, guess again. He's a United States Marine Corps major stationed in the United States, so there's no combat pay.
And he's single.
Yeah.
$3,200 a month.
Oh, you're way off. I was in shock. $10,000.
Oh, I'm not talking about the officers. I'm talking in.
Well, if a major's make, I didn't see them all interviewed. $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. So that sounds pretty darn good to me. Now I know they're not paying privates and corporals that kind of money, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I didn't see him ask anyone else. I'll find that guy's YouTube channel and share it with you all. I couldn't believe it. I don't care if he's married with 10 kids, $10,000 a month. I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, the enlisted side is the ones I'm talking about.
Oh, well, I don't know. I'll look at. All right, hey, listen, I appreciate the call. I mean, it's. I know, that was pretty shocking. I'll look for that guy's channel and share it with you all. I don't remember the name of the channel, and I watched that video a few days ago, so it might take me a little while to find that guy's channel, but I'll find it for you guys, I promise. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Brian.
Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Brian. My name is Hunter. I am calling from Pennsylvania. I would like to discuss with you some things that you discussed with another caller earlier. They include George Washington being corrupt.
Yes, George Washington being corrupt, yes.
Yes. I question that because I don't think he was corrupt, and there's some things I have to support that I would like to hear your opinion on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you give me something.
Okay. All right. The reason why his house is so close to the White House, White House. The land was actually donated by a man called John Burns.
I know. Listen, it's no. Hold on. When George, listen. I don't want to bore the audience going through the history of the Washington presidency. I'm enjoying the Trump second term, the non-consecutive term. But George Washington, when he was president, the capital was in New York. Okay, and and he did something. Now listen, George Washington. We owe a lot to George Washington. He did something with his slaves when he was president. Do you know what he did with his slaves when he was president?
No, I do not. What do you do?
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, and then you tell me if you think this is a morally corrupt person or a man of morals, George Washington. Okay, if you kept your, he brought his slaves with him to the Capitol, which at the time was New York City. At the time, if your slaves were in New York for a certain period of time, they would be free. I can't remember how long it was offhand. It's been a long time since I've read several books about George Washington, okay? Because I have a lot of respect for him. Yeah. We would not have our country if it was him. But every so often, he would send his slaves back to Mount Vernon, and then they would stay there for a period of time and then come back so they wouldn't get their freedom. So he took an action. Does that sound like a moral man or an immoral man? That's pretty sleazy what he did.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
There you go. I mean, there's other examples, but I can't sit here all day and talk about the corruption of the Washington presidency. When we got more things that are more relevant. But the reason I bring that up is anyone who says that President Trump is corrupt, that's insane. He is the only president we've had who's a high-standing moral leader, who's not owned by the big businesses of the day. Washington was in bed with the slavers, the planters of Virginia. That's how we ended up. You think it's just a coincidence that he ended up the general of the army and then the first president? No, it's because he was with the planter slave lobby of Virginia, which was very rich and powerful in the day. President Trump has taken on all the big money interest. These other presidents all owned by them. President Reagan was a great president and a great man. However, he was in bed with the military-industrial complex. That's, and he had a massive military buildup, a huge military buildup that led to the defeat of the Soviet Union, but he was backed by the military-industrial complex. President Trump just took down one of the biggest lobbying groups in our country today, one of the biggest bribers, the Big Pharma. And, he was with Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz yesterday. Those are some of the biggest money, corrupt people in the world, and he took them down. These other presidents can't do that. Mm-hmm. That's why I say he's the first non-corrupt president we've had. Now, most of the presidents are forgotten, and we don't know too much about. I mean, I can't sit around and point out the examples of Millard Fillmore, okay? But you know what? What I'm talking about. And by the way, that's why they shot him in Butler and try to do it again at the golf course. You think about this. Those of you that are opposed to Trump, you're on the same side as the people that shot him in Butler and tried to do it again at the golf course. Think about that. The reason they shot him And that day turned out perfect because he lived, but that wasn't their plan. So who are the people behind? The people behind that are the people he's taken down now in Washington.
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate the call. If you're on hold, stand by. Back after this.
Hello.
No, these calls are all real and live. They're just listeners and watchers like you guys. Some are on the radio. Some are on YouTube. Hey there. Hold on. Nope. Just like you guys. Oh, but Butler was... No, it was not staged. It was not staged. Not by Trump. All right, William, about 15 seconds.
Okay.
We're back, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman at the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking today?
Metal's looking very good, very strong. Again, after a little bit of a pullback yesterday on some profit taking, we saw gold close out the day at $3,294.70. That was down $18.80. Silver was down 32 cents at $33.01. Platinum closed down or up $6 at $1,079. And palladium was down $16 at $9.92. So far this morning, gold ending a high of $33.62 on a weaker U.S. dollar. The dollar continues its weakness and downward trend. The U.S. the dollar index right now at 99.23. Silver is up 19 cents right now at $33.20. As I said, gold is $3,358, up $64.30. Palladium is down $12 at $9.80. Platinum up $11 at $1,090. So the metals are doing very good, very good.
Absolutely. You know, William, I want to talk just for a moment about how people that are around the country or around the world, or maybe they're in another part of Florida or another part of town, they can't make it in your shop, doing transactions over the phone and through the mail with you. And I know people see ads and stuff about online and call numbers. And, you know, you call these people online or you go online. I don't think it's a good idea to tell these strangers that answer phones the address where they're sending gold to. That just doesn't sound smart to me. You know, I don't know what they're doing with that information, who they're telling. But how do transactions work for people that can't come in and do everything through the mail and over the phone?
Yeah, all our transactions are strictly confidential.
Yep.
And we have ship all over the world, and we have been doing it for almost 60 years now. So you can just call us, lock in a price for your precious metals, whatever you're wanting to purchase, overnight a check or send us a wire, and the product goes out immediately to you.
Yeah.
Fully insured.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of these things that people see on television and online, they're charging way too much for those coins. I don't care what the prices are. I guess they got to pay for that big national advertisement, William Youngerman, because the prices, you know, compared to what you sell the metals for is it's night and day. Listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. His number 1-800 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010. His address is 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway, on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. And find both his address and phone number on his website, WilliamYungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk on Monday.
Okay, or Tuesday, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I
Nice,
forgot.
weekend.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
We'll talk on Tuesday.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
take care. All right. You know, when I went to broadcasting school, my first day of broadcasting school, my teacher, I remember his name was Sean Casey. He was a DJ at 106.7 FM, which at the time was called Joy 107. I'm sure, I don't know what it is now, but it was called Joy 107 then. He gave us all in the class, first day of broadcasting school, dictionaries. He said, look up the word vacation. And then he said, take your pen out and cross that out of the dictionary. There's no vacations in radio. That's right. I'm not sure if we're going to be here live on Monday or not, but I'll decide probably when I wake up on Monday morning. All right, let's go. Open phones today, of course. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey. Let me turn my thing down so you don't have to tell
Turn
us
your
to-
thing down. That's correct. Yes. Turn your thing down.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room that you haven't spoke about today, and we're not talking about Richie. How come you ain't talking about all the corrupt mess that went on last night at his house down in Florida? How come you're not talking about
Whose
that?
house and what
Why
corruption
did-
went down?
Okay, the other day when I called, I told you this. I said that he is doing business.
Who's he?
And selling off.
Who's he?
Trump. You know we're talking about
Okay.
Trump. You know we ain't talking about nobody but that fool. You don't
Trump.
have a show about nothing else but that.
Okay, Trump
So I don't
did
know how
what?
You could think it was anybody else.
Trump did what?
You know that he had a big thing at his house last night with all the billionaires bringing him money last night. Now, you love Tucker Carlson. Did you hear what Tucker Carlson said last night?
He said it actually a couple days ago. He said it at least. He may have said it again.
I saw it last night. He said it a couple of days ago. How corrupt Trump is, and everybody.
No, that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
That's all they.
No, excuse me.
Yes,
He
said
talked
everybody
about.
is
Okay,
corrupt.
hold on, Renee, slow down. A couple things about this, okay? And don't disagree with every syllable out of my mouth. The clock's ticking. I want to talk to other people other than you. But here's the thing, okay? I don't always agree with Tucker Carlson. However, what he said is not what you said. He said that the Trump family business deals for this hotel or resort in the Middle East gives the appearance of corruption. He didn't say it was corrupt. He said it gives the appearance of corruption because idiots like you grab onto it.
We can all see it.
The
You the only
he
one
didn't
who
say
can't.
he didn't
Okay,
say
but
it was
you tell-
corrupt.
Okay, we ain't
He
got
said
that much
idiot.
time.
See what I mean? See how triggered you are?
Tell me why those billionaires was there for that coin that he has at his house last night.
Well,
Tell me why, when he's the president,
when-
he's not allowed to do that. Tell me.
I
how he
don't
did
know. I don't know what they did or what they gave the money to, but I know
it.
this.
You do know.
I know this.
Everybody knows. That's
Excuse
all
me.
they talked about
Excuse me.
yesterday.
When people do crime, okay, especially at the level you're talking about hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in crime. They usually don't
Did
do
it
it.
last night.
Excuse me. What did you see this at?
On every radio station.
No. You said you
on-
heard.
even on
Hold on.
Fox.
You said you. Okay. You saw Tucker. You saw it. When people are doing crime and taking bribes and kickbacks and things like this, they don't.
You're not
Listen.
answering the question.
I am answering the
Why did
question.
why did
I'm
Trump bring the
answering
billionaires
the.
to his thing last
I'm
night?
answering.
Answer that.
I am answering the question, just not in the way that you envisioned when you were rehearsing this in front of your mirror. When people are doing crime, taking bribes, accepting kickbacks, whatever it may be, they don't do it on television. They do it in private.
He did it right at his mansion last night.
And that shows you it's not correct. Hey, listen, appreciate the call. This will be the lightning round. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right. Oh, I hung up before they said hello. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Lenny from Coconut Creek.
Hey, Lenny, my throat is dry. So
yeah, so is mine.
It's a good time to call in because I'll let you talk more because I can't talk right now. I'm trying to hydrate with coffee, which dehydrates you. It doesn't work.
No, I understand.
What's on your mind, Lenny?
Well, once you opened up, with what happened a couple of days ago with this Jewish couple, I'm 72 years old. I'm a born Polish to born again Christian. My grandparents, experienced the atrocities that happened. They were in the Polish concentration camps. And at the age of 13, my grandmother...
Your grandparents were in a concentration camp?
Yeah, they were in the Polish concentration camp.
Oh, my goodness. That was the worst.
Even today, people still don't believe that existed. And they came here on Ellis Island and made a beautiful life for themselves.
Yeah.
But what happened a couple of days ago, nobody's, there's no... Today, actually...
Listen, I'm short on time. I'm short on time because we're coming to the end. But what you're talking about is this act of terrorism in our nation's capital where a radicalized Democrat murdered 2 young Jews for being Jews, is what you're talking about, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
And, and Judge Jeanine, she referenced the Holocaust in her press conference yesterday, and it's sick, sad, and disgusting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what you also, you mentioned this morning, the comparison because, how people are looking at Bondi, Patel, Bongino, and, things aren't moving, promises made, promises kept, to listen to Judge Jeanine, thank God she's in that position in D.C., but the comparison of a terrorist, that was a terrorist attack on these.
It was. Yeah. Listen, I got to run. I appreciate the call, Lenny. I know I'm being short, but time is short. But you're right. That was an Islamic terrorist attack in our nation's capital, the first Islamic terrorist attack in D.C. since 9/11, and it was committed by a radicalized Democrat who was radicalized by the Democrats. And that's what's going on. Now, I want to tell you guys about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I got to tell you, since I lost all this weight, I have so much energy. I've cut my caffeine intake in half. I'm drinking 50% less coffee. I used to drink 2 big things of espresso every morning. I'm down to 1. And I'm going to wean off of that one at some point. But I've noticed since I lost the weight, I just have so much energy. It's absolutely amazing. I feel great. And remember, I lost all this weight eating foods I would normally eat. No prescription medications like Ozempic, and 0 exercise. And I've talked to some of our listeners who have done the same. Now, I'm going to give you the number for Coastal Weight Loss Secret. And the other day, Dr. Zuckerman was in studio, and he was telling me a couple things. One, couples are coming in together. Married couples are coming in together to lose weight together. That's awesome. Do it together, guys. And also, we've had listeners from all over the United States call Coastal Weight Loss Secret and do what I've done, lose weight. No matter where you are located in America, give Coastal Weight Loss Secret a call. They can help you, okay? Here's the number, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. All right. Well, that's all the time. Let me squeeze. I shouldn't do this. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, good morning. This is Joan in Tampa Bay.
30 seconds, Joan.
Okay. The guy talking about Trump should do more for the military. 8 years, Obama did not give any raises to the military. Trump's first term, he gave a raise, and now Trump is giving another raise come January 2026.
Yeah, and did you notice when I told him that I saw this Marine major in the United States making $10K a month? Well, I'm not talking about the off. He didn't want to hear it. right? I mean, give me a break. Listen, Joe, appreciate the call. Last call of the week. Hey, we've had great calls to the program. And those of you that are new, welcome to the program. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. My name's Brian Craig. We'll be back with you Monday morning at 6 a.m. God bless America, and God bless our favorite president, Donald Trump. See you Monday at 6 a.m. All right, we're out. Listen, everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you are new, make sure you subscribe. Oh, PJ, he's listening in Portugal. He's not in Lisbon. He is in a historical town that I cannot pronounce. Obidos. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he's having lunch, a seafood meal on an ancient street, listening to us in Portugal. That's awesome. All right, guys, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. Those of you that are already sub, please like and share the video. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.